Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Two Bros Hot Take, where we watch a movie and then tell you whether or not you should watch a movie. I am your movie-watching host, Older Bro.
I'm your other movie-watching host, Younger Bro.
And today we are watching a movie that probably all of you have already seen if you're interested in watching it, so this review really is pointless. So, I don't know why you're watching it. Apparently, you think that we are enjoyable to listen to for some reason.
Okay, so let's start off with, I was a little disappointed with the movie.
Uh-huh.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it, but there was a lot of disappointments that just...
Most of those involve certain scenes that do not exist in this movie that Younger Bro thought would be in this movie.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why he did.
Just...
So, to be fair to this movie, Younger Bro is disappointed because of his expectations, not necessarily the movie itself.
So, movie overall, it was... I didn't know anything about Morbius other than the fact that...
Yeah.
He was a villain, an actual villain as far as I was aware in the comics.
Yeah.
He was just straight evil. I don't know if he was ever good. So
yeah.
That's how I've always known Morbius.
Mm-hmm.
If the movie is portraying Morbius correctly, please let us know because I got zip idea. So
this movie definitely doesn't really do that.
I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
I felt that Venom and Venom 2 were better than this movie, definitely.
That's fair. Well, to be fair, part of the reason why Venom and Venom 2 are considered very good movies is not the movie. It's the relationship between Tom Hardy and Venom. You could put them in any movie, and you'd probably get that it's a good movie just because those two characters are interacting with each other.
Yeah, with this movie...
You don't have Venom and Tom Hardy.
You don't have that. They didn't show up at all.
No.
That's not even...
I mean, they were referenced once.
Yeah, they were referenced once, and that was about it.
So, yeah.
So, I thought it was an okay movie. It's one of those movies that you watch when you have nothing else. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that this was a great movie, but I thought it was okay. It was a fine movie. They very clearly, Sony wants to make a Flash movie. This movie really felt like they wanted to make Flash.
I felt like Eternals had more effect on me than this movie.
Oh God. Okay, Younger Bro thinks this is a really bad movie. So yeah,
and Eternals I thought was okay.
Yeah. But no, sound-wise, movie sounded fine. We were sitting in the theater. We were the only ones in the theater.
We were the only ones in the theater, so that says a lot about the movie.
No, it says a lot about how late we reviewed this movie. This movie is weeks old at this point. So
no, it came out Friday. Well, it came out April 1st.
I don't believe you. There's no possible way.
I told you it came out April 1st.
Holy shit. Okay. Sorry, guys. I thought this was 2.5, 3 weeks old because, there was no one there. So, yes, that does say a lot about the movie. It's a week old and no one was there. Yeah. Overall, plot-wise, movie was fine.
A very generic movie.
Yeah, it was it's not breaking any boundaries. It wasn't bad, a bad plot. It was just fine. It was a very average plot.
I will give them props because I actually felt more intensity in this movie than I did Fallen Kingdom. And Fallen Kingdom was
there was a lot of high energy action moments.
High energy action, but it wasn't scary.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was meant to be. It was meant to be tense. And it felt tense.
And Morbius, I generally felt scared a couple times.
Yeah.
Because they did jump scares well.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the only good
things.
They
do very good, not even, they do very cliched moments, but they do them well.
They do them really well.
So, yeah, I did believe that that in terms of the horror aspect of this movie, like it did the decent job at being a horror movie. It was
great.
pretty good. But
yeah,
in terms of a superhero movie, it was fine.
Yeah, I thought some of the lines went in it was funny. I liked those moments, but I only laughed maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, this is well, and you got to remember this is okay. Maybe I'm being maybe I'm being overly fair to this movie because Tom Hardy and Venom actually kind of are kind of funny and quippy. They sort of do fit more into the MCU style movies, but like I don't know if the Venom universe is what I'm going to call it because that's basically what it is. I don't know if the Venom universe is intended to be as quippy as Marvel. I think it's meant to be a bit more dark and brooding.
I think Matt Smith's character was trying to be the comic relief and failed.
Didn't really feel very comic reliefy. No. But no, yeah, in terms of the if you're looking for like a Marvel style movie, this is not that. This is much closer to a DC style movie. Although I would argue that the better DC movies are ones that are more like Marvel, like Shazam.
Yeah. Lightning in my hands.
By the way, guys, as a temporary aside for this movie, literally before this movie, we got to see like every single Sony trailer because they threw all the Sony trailers out there in front of the Sony movie. Apparently, the new they threw the trailer out for the new Spider-Verse movie. Which is apparently a part one of 2.
That I didn't know, and I saw the Spider-Verse trailer.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like, are you fucking serious?
I saw that. I was like, part 1?
Yeah.
The fuck you mean?
Again, we were
Me
the
and
only
older
ones.
bro yelled it.
We were literally the only ones in the theater, so we yelled it out. But I was like, actually, I might have still yelled that out, even if there were more people in that theater.
Seriously.
Like, what do you mean, part 1? I bring this up because I think one of the fundamental problems I had with this movie is I felt this was a part 1 to something else. Like
Morbius?
Yeah, this movie did introduce who Morbius is, but the fundamental problems with this movie is they portrayed him very much as a hero in this movie. Whereas the movie where
that's sort of what I like about this movie, because if they're not using original Morbius, who's just evil,
sure,
they're using a new Morbius who was set out to actually try to help people. He cured them, and then became a monster.
Well, and here's the thing, I'm not against that. What I'm against is the final end credits scene, which we'll talk about later, which kind of doesn't fit with that movie we just watched. So
yeah,
that's we'll get into that when we start talking about the movie in more detail. But there are end credit scenes, guys. Sorry, there are pre-credit scenes, and as far as we know, no end credit scene.
Yeah.
We did not stay to the end. So if we missed one, it's fine. We don't really care enough. This movie was not worth it enough to sit through the credits.
Okay, so
yeah, that is your pre-spoiler movie of should you go watch it?
If you want to.
It's fine. But yeah, so spoilers start now. So yeah.
Okay.
So the whole point of this movie is them literally
trying to
showing him as like a hero type character. Maybe not a hero, but not an anti-hero. He's very much I'm trying to save people like me.
And I have to do various means to do it.
Yeah, going out of his way to, at all points in time, try not to murder people and, like, generally try to be a good guy. And then they have the first end credits scene, which is just them literally bringing in Vulture.
And Michael Keaton,
Which is why Younger Bro's so pissed off, because they apparently were going to have him more in the movie and cut those scenes.
Yeah, that was the... There was no reason to cut those scenes out. Like,
no, It makes perfect sense to cut those scenes.
Like, I understand, but they still have the same effect. Like,
here's the thing. It makes sense to cut the scenes in terms of during the movie, given that the Venom MCU hasn't really introduced multiverse. They've had, like, one single instance of, like, an end credit scene that vaguely alluded to multiversal shit going on from the MCU. So
Yeah.
so it makes perfect sense to not throw that in the middle of this movie.
Yeah,
or even at the beginning of
They
this
made
movie.
it at the end.
Yeah, so this makes perfect sense because what it seems like they're doing here is they just brought this character in. Now he's going to be in this universe, no longer in the MCU, and now they're going to do stuff. Now they're going to set up for, like, having him in the universe. I think it was a perfect introduction for him showing up here.
I think...
But the problem I have is that yeah, it makes perfect sense how he got here, and, well, sort of. Like, it makes sense that he got here how he did, and what happened to him.
Yeah, so that makes me think, like, who else got fucked up in the universe.
Exactly. And that's a cool concept. So I think that they could now drop people in somewhat, like, randomly. Like, they could drop in a random villain at some point and not be out of place, because they've now introduced the fact that they can do that. But the problem is that they end the fucking movie with the final pre-credits scene of Dr. Morbius going up to him and being like, yeah, we should form a team. And it's like, dude, you're a fucking villain. We know you're a villain.
Here's what intrigued me.
What the fuck is this?
Here's what intrigued me. Yes, Vulture is supposed to be a villain. What intrigued me is he said, okay, I've been here for a while. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. But they didn't say, we're going after Spider-Man now.
Yeah. So
they just said, let's form a team and maybe we can do some good.
Yeah, but do some good for...
Those lines intrigue me.
Yeah, because do some good for Vulture...
What does that mean?
Because do some good for Vulture generally would be beating the shit out of Spider-Man and generally being a villain. So, like, that's why I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this...
If this had been the other guy, if this had been the villain in this movie, if he'd not died and he met up with Vulture, the scene makes perfect sense.
Makes more sense.
But when you put Morbius in this situation, which you've spent an entire movie building up as not a villain, like, maybe he could be an anti-hero at worst, but he's very much not a villain. Let's form a team with literal actual villain. It's like, what?
But here's the thing. I don't know if it's Sinister Six. Because if it's Sinister Six, then it's the multiverse Sinister Six. Because it's Vulture from the MCU.
True, but to be fair, it seems like this Vulture is now going to become permanently part of the Venom universe. So,
I don't think so.
Well, I don't think they'll ever need him again. Like, I don't think the MCU wants him back.
I think they wanted to do something with him.
Yeah.
But
I
think that's for a future Spider-Man film.
Maybe. But anyways, so yeah, that was really weird, and there's no build up to that anywhere in this movie or any indication of why this scene makes sense. So
yeah,
the end credit scene, I have no idea how that makes any sense.
So if it's the multiverse Sinister Six, it's a totally different team because you don't know who's going to be on.
Yeah, well, because here's the problem. Venom's not evil in this universe. He would not be on the Sinister Six.
No.
Venom is the closest thing to our hero in this universe, except maybe Morbius. This is the other reason why this doesn't make any sense. Because here's the problem. If you're making Morbius a villain at the end of this movie, like that scene is setting him up to become a villain, there's no build up to it. If they're setting it up as Vulture's not evil in this universe, then who are our villains? Because you have Tom Hardy's Venom, Morbius, and not evil Vulture. There's no villains here.
There are teams of anti-heroes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, because one of the problems that the MCU has is the MCU doesn't really have villains. Or they don't really have staying around villains. The thing about the comic books is that villains constantly come back. They constantly become a new threat because they go into hiding, build up their forces, and come back again. But the MCU doesn't do that. They tell singular stories.
Yeah, it seems like they're about to do that with Vulture, and I don't know what they're doing with Morbius, really.
Yeah, but the problem is that the Venom universe has even less characters than the MCU. It doesn't even have the full roster. It just has some of Spider-Man.
And here's
there's nothing here.
And here's the
Who
big
are you building up?
Here's the big kicker.
Yeah.
There is a fourth Spider-Man.
Yep. Of course
There's
there is.
one that exists in the Venom universe.
Yep.
And apparently he's existed for a little while.
Uh-huh.
And it must have been recent because Tom Hardy in the MCU post-credit scenes just didn't know about Spider-Man until he got there.
Yeah.
So he must have been made up like at Morbius or a little before it, because this fourth Spider-Man is just very elusive.
Because apparently, guys, according to Younger Bro and whatever sources Younger Bro is seeing, they are going to be introducing a Spider-Man into the Venom universe that will be the Venom universe's Spider-Man that is not Andrew Garfield, and it's not Tobey Maguire, and it's not Tom Holland.
As far as we're aware.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they could do Amazing Spider-Man and Andrew...
Again, the fundamental
Andrew
problem...
Garfield and Tobey Maguire,
the fundamental problem with Andrew Garfield was that Andrew Garfield's a very good Spider-Man, but he's never been the best Peter Parker.
No.
And I think Tom Holland does a very good job at this, mostly because they just kind of broke the whole Spider-Man universe, in effect. They just kind of said, we're just going to make the character work. We don't care if the lore matches. We're just going to make it work. And so Tom Holland works as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man because they kind of just said, well, if we can't find a good character that's both a good Spider-Man and a good Peter Parker, we'll just change who Peter Parker and Spider-Man are enough until we can find a person who can be both. So, and they made it work. So they could do Andrew Garfield. I don't even think it wouldn't work. I think it'd be fine.
But I don't think they plan to. The only fourth Spider-Man that would make sense, not in terms of an actor, but in terms of what Spider-Man is going to be in the Venom universe. I feel like it's going to be Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, I don't think that wouldn't. You're right. I see what you're saying.
Yes,
but
only because it's been a darker universe.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen. But yeah, I get why you say that.
To me, it's like, okay, if they're gonna start a Spider-Verse live action thing, maybe start with Noir.
Yeah, but then they have to start in the 80s. Because it's that's Noir's whole background, is he's based in the 80s.
Yeah, Noir, but they could just change that.
I guess. So, yeah, anyways, none of that has to do with this movie. So, getting into actual details about this movie.
That's a theory of mine.
Yeah. We've got over all the in-credit stuff and vaguely related things to the in-credit stuff. We're talking about the actual movie.
Let's talk about Matt Smith's character.
So, Matt Smith's character was anti-Doctor Who in this.
They made a lot of Doctor references.
He was basically just anti-Doctor Who.
I did not like his character.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think his character is bad. I think that I don't think that Matt Smith was the best person to play this character. I think Matt Smith has kind of been permanently ruined by the fact that he's Doctor Who.
Part of me...
You just can't see him as a villain.
Yeah, part of me did die a little while I'm like, oh no, he's the villain. Here's the thing. I wasn't expecting two Morbiuses. Who the fuck is Matt Smith's character? Is it just some random ass character made out of the blue?
I've got no
clue. Who the fuck is he?
To be fair, some of this might also just be Younger Bros not having knowledge of these characters. I have no clue.
Again, guys, feel free to let me know in the comments, because I have no idea who the fuck this is.
Yeah, this may be a very well-known character. No clue.
All we know is his made-up name, Milo.
Yeah. Well, no, again, it wasn't made up. There was a real Milo.
I mean, there was a real name, but I think it's Lucius or something.
No, yeah, Lucius Fox. No,
it started with an L.
Yeah, but Lucian, I think.
Lucian, yes.
But yeah,
But
no,
he kind of just became the villain. I'm like, no.
Well, and here's the thing. It is also possible he is a new character in that, again, if Morbius's actual backstory is that he's usually a villain, They don't really have any people to fight Morbius.
And here's the thing. If they didn't kill him, I agree with you. That post-credit scene would have made more damn sense.
Yep. But no, he's dead.
Yeah, he dies.
Yeah. So, no, yeah, this movie is really weird. Like, again, I call this a part 1 because I feel like it really is a part 1. I feel like they set up for another movie that may never happen.
But yeah.
Because the movie's, first off, the movie starts out with the trailer. Like, it's literally the one of the main scenes from the trailer is the first scene. And then they flash back completely unnecessarily 25 years. And then go
back to the present.
No, they go past. They pass the scene you saw at the beginning to then go to the current present. And it's like, so why the fuck didn't you just do this in reverse? Why didn't you just make it so that he started as a kid, you see his growth, then you see him going to extremes because he can't succeed, and then,
but
like, he wakes up in the hospital, basically, or he wakes up in, like, the present.
But yeah,
this character really felt like Doctor Strange. It really felt like they tried to design this character around, like, a Doctor Strange model of...
But...
Like, it's...
Yeah, still talking about Matt Smith's characters. Matt Smith, I love you. You were a great doctor. You
weren't that good in here. What was the other...
Here's the thing.
What's the other movie that Matt Smith's been shown off in? Because they had it... It wasn't this movie, was it? There was another movie that I remember seeing Matt Smith being shown off in, and I can't remember what it is.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to have to look at all of his recent movies.
But...
It may have been this one.
Matt Smith, love you. Like, he was trying to have fun. You can tell he was.
Yeah,
but
maybe that's the fundamental problem with Matt Smith's character. I think that's the fundamental problem with Matt Smith's character. Matt Smith can't really play serious characters. Maybe I just haven't seen one where he can, but, like, he's a fun-loving guy. Like, he plays characters that just aren't... It's not that he can't have serious moments, but that fundamentally he plays lighthearted characters.
I thought he was going to be two different characters.
Yep.
The first character I thought he was going to be the detective. Because that's how the trailer made him out to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm remembering. I'm remembering the trailer where it looked like he was a fucking detective, and I keep forgetting that's from this movie because it had that scene. Does that scene even play in this movie?
No!
That had nothing in... That was not in this movie
You need to accept who you really are, the bad guy.
Yeah, you need to accept who you are, the villain, because I'm a villain, and you should be too. That is the fucking story of this movie.
But we didn't even have that scene. That scene did not exist.
That scene did not happen.
But yeah, so... When I knew when he first appeared on screen, I'm like, he's not the detective. Okay, who is he going to be? Okay, he's going to be the buddy that tries to help Morbius with his problem.
That's true. That is actually part of his character because he's literally the financial. He's literally the financial benefactor of the hospital.
I thought he was going to be like the best friend support.
Yeah,
and to an extent, he was.
Yeah, that was him.
But I thought that was it.
Until halfway through the movie.
I thought that's all he was going to be.
Yep.
Who was like... I thought he was going to be the guy to convince him. Was like, don't drink blood. Don't drink blood. Please don't.
Yeah. No.
Don't hurt me.
No, he has a girl for that. And so he gets... He's literally pissed off that he can't be in that role in this movie. He wants to be the closest person to Morbius.
Maybe that's why he became
and literally isn't allowed to be because Morbius likes girls. No, this is not an LGBT movie, guys. But, like, you could very easily argue that.
But yeah, Matt Smith did not need to be the villain in this movie. It's like, no one needed to be. This was just, to me, this was supposed to be just a movie about meeting Morbius in a way.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that's fair. It is very standard. In fact, well, actually, here's better. It's very standard that almost every single superhero movie, you really need to have a villain of some kind. Has there been any superhero movies that didn't have a villain? At all? I don't think there have. At least not modern ones. But I don't even think the old ones do. I think it's just a fundamental standard of, like, if you're a superhero movie, you have to have a villain you're fighting.
Yeah, and that's why I think they just
even Megamind, whose entire plot is, like, about the villain becoming the hero, still had a villain.
Yeah, like, I think they literally just made up a damn villain on the spot and had Morbius fight him just to show him off.
I don't know.
It's like, I'm not sure you needed to do that. You can just show him off. But I honestly, a more interesting movie would have been Morbius versus the Vulture. But
yeah, but
then you could argue as an anti-hero.
Yeah, I don't know.
But they didn't do that.
So that was interesting. Yeah, so he's the financial benefactor of the hospital or whatever where he works. Morbius goes out on a boat and literally... I love the FBI agents in this movie who, like, they detain Morbius because apparently he murdered somebody.
Yeah, they played their roles
They did
really
a very
well.
good job as the cops, and they did not die, thank God.
Yeah.
But I love the reaction of, like, Morbius literally went out on a ship in international waters to conduct this experiment on himself because, of course, he did. Murders all these people. Just murders every single person on that boat
Except one.
Except girlfriend. FBI detains him later after he's apparently murdered somebody else in the hospital, and they're like, all these people on the boat, we don't really give a shit. They're all guilty of something.
Yeah.
We don't care. It's like, wow, these are the most
great.
American police officers I've ever heard. Oh, you just murdered all these random people on this boat? We don't give a shit. They're not Americans.
That was a great line.
They're just terrorists or whatever.
I like that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Loved it. So their characters I loved. They were great. The one guy who was
I think they were some of the best characters.
The guy who is like ultra concerned. He's like, "Yep, this is a vampire. I'm gonna bring triple anointed holy water in here because I don't want to fucking die."
That man.
Like, they were
brilliant.
very good at like being like almost comic relief. Like they were very good at being like both serious and
they weren't
sort of
really
jokey.
trying to be
No,
funny.
they weren't
and
trying, but it was just
like I couldn't help but smile.
They were
at
so
that.
good.
I was smiling at that scene.
Yeah, it's so good.
So yeah.
But yeah, I liked Morbius the character. Like I enjoyed how he figured out how to fly, which is literally just, if there's wind around, I can basically fly. If the bats,
any kind of motion.
Yeah, if there's any kind of motion, I can fly through it. If the bats are flying, I can fly with them.
I think they did showing off Morbius well. I think they did some fight scenes well.
Yeah, the fight scenes were pretty good. Again, they very much felt like Doctor Strange fight scenes. They felt very mystical.
In a way.
So, like, yeah, it was very interesting. So, I enjoyed the fight scenes. But, yeah the villain was... It was weird that he was the villain.
I'm not 100% mad at Morbius. Like, I'm more mixed on it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just, it's not... I feel
it's
like
not
it needed...
bad, it's not good either.
It needed more polish. Obviously, we have to talk about the girlfriend, who's, like, doctor, nurse.
Yeah, and then she becomes a vampire, basically.
Yeah,
by
literally,
the end.
the fucking end of this movie is, everyone that he is, like, associated with dies, basically, because they're murdered.
Except her, apparently.
Yeah, she dies. Or, like, she bites him, dies. He leaves to go fight, and then the end is showing the fact that she actually didn't die. And it's like, well, where's that going?
Yeah, and then we
don't see, because that's a part 2.
That's future.
This movie is a part 2. It's a part 2 to something. I don't know what it is.
Part 1.
Sorry, this is a part 1 to something. There's gonna I don't know what it is, but
so yeah.
Maybe that's a good thing to talk about for this movie. One of the problems with this movie is, there's a difference between a teaser and not a plot hole, but like a loose thread. Like those kind of things where it's like you leave something unfinished. The MCU has done a very good job of tying up loose ends, but leaving teasers to things that are going to happen next. Their end credit scenes are very good about, they almost never are straight up like, we left something unanswered. It's just here's what's happening, after all the stuff you just saw and going to lead up to the next thing you're going to see. The scene with the girlfriend just feels like a completely unanswered thread. It just feels like, she bit him, okay, and then
He
died.
bit her.
And then she gets up, then she wakes up as a vampire, and then they just don't do anything with it. And it's like, then why wasn't that one of the end credit scenes? Why didn't you just make that
Yeah, make the
the
third.
fucking end credit scene? Like, if that's, like, then it would have worked perfectly. But you put it in the middle of the movie, well, like the late end of the movie.
Yeah.
Or early end of the movie, sorry. And then,
It was during the fight with Matt Smith.
yeah, so it's like, right during the final battle, you show that scene, then do nothing with it. And it's like, she doesn't show up to help. She's not referenced ever again. I don't think he knows she's alive.
No.
So it's like, why did you put it there?
Future villain.
Just, I don't think she'd be a villain against him.
No.
So,
Yeah.
it's more likely he'd be a villain against her.
So, I want to agree with a lot of people who also reviewed this movie because I have heard someone
Yeah.
else's opinions and I sort of agree with them.
Yeah, I've heard no one's opinion, so I stuck true to the nature of this series. Younger bro has failed.
Like, I didn't see anything, like, very spoiler heavy.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, it was a non-spoiler review.
Yep.
And I agree with them that, yeah, it's a dissatisfying movie compared to any of the other Marvel movies
Yes,
that I've seen.
that is the one good takeaway from the MCU. The MCU is, at its core, designed to make you have a good time. It is designed to make you to come away feeling satisfied with the movie you've seen. Even if it's not the best Marvel movie. All of them are designed to be very good movies that leave you satisfied. This movie does not leave me satisfied. It leaves me kind of disappointed. It's not a bad movie, but it leaves me disappointed.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see what they do in the multiverse thing that they're doing, because I'm pretty sure that really gets into action with Doctor Strange next month.
Yeah. What I'm going to bet is I think you've got it backwards. I think that it's not that Doctor Strange is pulling in this stuff. I think that Doctor Strange is pushing out this stuff. As in, this multiverse stuff was related to the Spider-Man event. But I think they're not going to reference any of this. I think that this was their way of being like, hey, what I think's happening is that in the background, Disney has probably made a private bonus deal of some kind where Sony is getting something, like getting some, like, characters out of the MCU and can reference the MCU more directly and stuff like that, but they have to make their own Spider-Man. Basically, Disney has gotten this Spider-Man for themselves, and they're like, okay, you can make a new one. And that there's been some back-end deal that we don't know about. But I'm betting you we are never going to see anything to do with this universe ever again. Like, outside of when the MCU Venom appears, which I guess now is a spawn of that Venom, ignoring that, you will not have any more connections. I think it's just going to wall off.
I have a feeling that somehow Vulture will make it back in the
Yeah.
MCU. Don't know how,
Yeah.
don't know when,
I'm
but
thinking he
he
won't.
will.
I'm thinking that he's permanently in this universe and is just going to be a character there from now on.
I really hope not. That will just freaking disappoint.
I don't know.
me
Maybe
so-
Sony and Disney realized my thing. Maybe they're just gonna make this the rated R, like, hardcore, like, darker MCU, and we're just gonna get Ryan Reynolds in this universe, and there'll be a different still Ryan Reynolds.
No, it seems
Deadpool
like
and the other one.
Deadpool 3 is actually going to really tie into the MCU.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. We'll see. We have no idea. Nobody has any idea. So
was
our
I-
opinions are just as valid as anybody else's until they're proven wrong.
Yeah, I was a little excited to see this movie, and then I died.
Not
halfway
quite a
through.
waste of money, but not really
Worth it.
not worth anyone else spending money on it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens from here.
Yep. So that's it for this hot take, guys.
This is probably the closest you'll ever get us to hating a movie.
Yeah, it's really weird because all the movies that everyone else hates, we're just like, no, they were good movies. We enjoyed them. And this is the one where we're finally like, no, this wasn't that good of a movie. It just was okay.
Yeah.
Like, I still think that Terminator movie was great.
Dark Fate.
I think the Dark Fate was better than this movie, and everyone else is going to get so pissed off at me saying that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But everyone hated that movie.
Don't know why.
Because it pulled the cloth off of everyone's face that this is the movies don't matter. The entire point of this franchise has always been that no change will ever change, that nothing you do will ever change fate. That has always been the plot of these movies. But people got pissed off that, like, people didn't like T3. And the reason they didn't like T3 was a lot of reasons, but one of them being because the end still happened. Nothing that John Connor and Sarah Connor did mattered. The new T3 that we just watched a while ago now, but the one that we watched, Dark Fate, was the exact same thing. It is the movie company trying to tell the audience, guys, we don't give a shit what you think. The end of the world's gonna happen whether you want it to or not. So, we're now gonna murder John Connor. And the same plot happens anyways, because that's the fucking point. It doesn't matter that John Connor's dead. It doesn't matter that now the Cyberdyne doesn't exist. It doesn't matter that the Terminators don't exist. There's new Terminators, they have a new name, and they're still trying to end the world because it's an infinite cycle that can't be stopped.
They are inevitable.
Inevitably, the Terminators are going to end the world, and inevitably, the humans are going to defeat the Terminators at the end of the war. And that's why both sides keep conflicting, because both sides want to stop the inevitable that can't be stopped. But everyone gets pissed off at that. They're pissed off that, but they killed John Connor. It's like, who the hell cares they killed John Connor? That was the fucking smartest thing anyone's ever done.
Yeah, that blew
John
me
Connor
away.
died.
That scene
Yeah,
still.
John Connor dies. Good. Then the Terminators won't come back in time because they don't have a reason to.
Yeah, that.
And yet it still happens anyway.
That scene.
Not only did the Terminator survive, but new Terminators showed up because would you believe people still want to create artificial intelligence? It's still fucking inevitable.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, but that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole different thing. Anyways, that's it for this hot take. We will come back next time with a new movie that maybe other people will agree with us on. Oh, actually, this one people probably agree with us on. So
yeah,
we'll come back with a new movie. It'll probably be Sonic. I don't think there's another movie coming out between now and Sonic, so it'll probably be Sonic. We'll see. So see you on the next hot take.
Dissatisfied.